guys, welcome back to another video. Obviously Brendan here from Capture. So today we are tackling the famous question: do I need my drone license to fly a drone? And it's probably the most common question that I think every UAV pilot faces when we're talking to people about what we do, talking to people that want to get into the industry, or who just want to fly drones. And unfortunately, there are some amazing resources out there, but they can be a little bit confusing about where you fit within those categories. So today, the purpose of the video is trying to break down those areas, trying to quickly explain to you guys exactly where maybe you might fit within the categories that CASA outline at the moment. And then we really just build out from there, and hopefully I can make your life a little bit easier with making a decision on where you fit. So if I ever get asked, do I need a drone license to fly a drone? My first question back to them is generally saying, well, what are you planning on doing with your drone? Because we've got three categories essentially within the drone operating space, and depending on what you want to do will depend on what you are legally liable to follow. So I'm not going to deep dive into the actual ins and outs of having a remote pilot license and things like that. And today is really just, like I said, I just want to touch base on all the three areas, break it down for you guys to be able to maybe make a decision for yourselves. I'm not going to be telling you what you should or shouldn't be doing. I will try my best to help explain the situation and maybe point you in the right direction, but at the end of the day, the choice is yours whether you want to go out and get your license or not to be able to operate a drone from a legal standpoint, depending on how you want to do things. So we can put this down into three different sections. We can put this down into recreational, the excluded category, and people that hold their remote pilot license and remote operating certificate. So let's start off with recreational. Essentially, if you're going to be flying recreational, in my eyes, you're going to be going out and buying something like a DJI Mini 2, something that weighs less than 250 grams. You're not planning on doing anything commercially with it. You might be taking it with you for a weekend away or on the holiday with you, or you just want to take some snaps every now and then. Now, being in and operating around the recreational does not mean that you don't follow the drone laws that CASA outline for everyone to follow, mind you, but you are restricted. So to understand the restrictions that you have is that compared to someone having a license, you as a recreational flyer can't go and get airspace approvals or fly within cities. There is a lot of airspace, well, especially in Melbourne, and I know in Sydney as well, that is quite restricted with you being able to fly, whether it's controlled airspace from Tullamarine or Melbourne Tower, or even around Moorabbin here in Victoria. Those airspaces are completely excluded. So if you are a recreational flyer, you're not planning on doing anything around or for commercial purposes, then I would say you're probably in the clear for not getting your remote pilot license or remote operating certificate. Now, there is another area where you can operate commercially without having a license, which is the sub 2 kilo section, or the excluded category. So what that means is that you can operate a drone up to 2 kilos. So for example, the Phantom 4 or the Mavic 2 Pro is a sub 2 kilo drone, and you are able to go and use that for commercial purposes without having a license. You do still have to follow the CASA rules and regulations, of course, but you also do have to maintain and log your hours. So the way you can do that is you can do that manually with paper and pen, or you can use an online paperless option, which is great, and a good option for paperless documentation is for sure AVCRM. It's what I use all day, every day, and I can't speak highly enough. I basically have mentioned them in every single video so far. So check them out. There are other companies out there, like I think Drone Logbook Australia or something along those lines. There are other companies out there that do paperless operational documentation, but for me personally, I've just found that AVCRM is the best one to go for at the moment. Now, when you are in the excluded category, the sub 2 kilo, what you're able to do, and really in my mind and in my opinion, that type of operator is someone that might be a photographer that's not going to be using a drone all day, every day, but they just need a shot here or there to be able to add into their video or add into their photo collection for a real estate shoot or even a wedding or something like that. So for me, you can operate commercially and do roof inspections and other commercial based type of services in a sub 2 kilo, most definitely. But a lot of people do, and I guess clients do require you to have some form of insurance. And if you want to have insurance, my understanding is that you need to be a licensed operator. You actually need to hold a remote operating certificate and not just your remote pilot license. Now, when we're talking about remote operating certificate and remote pilot license, I guess there's two types of licensing that you can get as within the Australian industry at the moment. Now, remote pilot license or your REPL and your remote operating certificate are two very different things. So the way I look at it is that if you just hold your remote pilot license, you are able to go and work for someone that holds their remote operating certificate. Now, it might not be a single person, it might be a company, or it might be, someone like Capture. We have our own operating certificate and we hire and use other remote pilots to be able to perform work for us. So what we do is we look for remote pilots that are that have their license, that want to take on some work and do all that sort of stuff. We induct them to our remote operating certificate, and that encompasses a lot of different things. So when you have your REOC, you do have other, so your REOC stands for Remote Operating Certificate. You do have other responsibilities, and it just takes things up to the next level. A lot more documentation, a lot more maintenance around your aircraft and everything like that, and just more information to ensure that everything we're doing from an operational standpoint is within standard. But having a remote operating certificate does give you some flexibility. It does allow you to go and apply for an exemption to go and fly within the Melbourne CBD. Now, to be able to fly within the Melbourne CBD, for example, you would have to do road closures and things like that, because obviously we can't operate over roads, we can't operate in populous areas, so we need to be sure that we're doing things right. But with your remote operating certificate, you can most definitely get an exemption. It can become quite expensive, but if that's the world you're playing in, then it's absolutely part of the game. Now, the other part of the remote operating certificate, it obviously allows you to build up your skills and qualifications within your operators and your company as well. So having a remote operating certificate, it gives you the ability to go and get exemptions or excluded category tickets, I guess is maybe a good way to put it. There still is some areas that's still a bit lacking and things like that, but it's all coming together and it's really exciting within the industry. So to give you an example, if you hold your remote operating certificate, you can get an exemption, a permanent exemption within your REOC, remote operating certificate, that you can fly above 120 meters within certain applications. So for example, you can go and get an exemption to fly over 120 meters for the purpose of going and inspecting wind turbines. Now, that's a really basic example and explanation of what you can and a use case for that, but there are many applications. It does allow you to fly at night, has your procedures and manuals that you must follow to be able to fly at night. But there are a lot of valuable things that come with owning or having your remote operating certificate. Now, getting your remote operating certificate is quite an expensive process. It is, but it isn't. So there is an investment, like anything. You do have to invest a little bit of money. So at the moment, from memory and my understanding, we're still looking at about $3,000 to be able to get your remote operating certificate, and that with written up your procedures and manuals to go along with your operating certificate. So what that means is that when you apply for your operating certificate, to CASA, you say this is the entity who's going to hold that operating certificate. We also, part of that is going to have to be an additional test. So you're going to have to nominate a role or someone to take on the role called Chief Remote Pilot, and that person will oversee all your operations. So once you've nominated that person, then they will have to sit and do an additional exam or test through CASA. And it's a scenario-based example, so it's really just utilizing and showcasing your operating certificate, knowing how your procedures and manuals work, and finding answers that they're quizzing you on. It is a face-to-face or over-the-phone situation. Hopefully that kind of breaks down those three areas. So maybe we can just quickly recap. Let's think about it. If you're flying recreational, you just want to take photos for fun and of your holidays and things like that, but remember, you still have to follow the laws when operating. No matter what, we still can't fly within 30 meters of people and things like that. So you have to follow the rules. But you don't have to go and get your remote pilot license or remote operating certificate to go and fly a drone for fun, essentially. And then you've got your excluded category, where you're sub 2 kilo. That can be a hybrid. You can do that for fun and fly a drone up to 2 kilos, up to something like a Phantom or a Mavic 2 Pro. Or you can do small commercial jobs like adding in with your real estate photography and videography, or your wedding and things like that. Yes, you can do roof inspections and everything else, but there are other limitations. Then you've got your remote pilot license and your REOC, and those basically allow you to have as much flexibility as you can within the aviation world and operating drones. So again, REOC allows you to apply to fly within 3 nautical miles of an airport, allows you to grow and have other exemptions and fly heavier drones, and from there you have a lot more flexibility. I hope that kind of clears things up a little bit more. If you have any questions or you still got some concerns, comment below or send us an email and we'll try and point you in the right direction as best as we can. So guys, I appreciate your time. Take it easy. I'll see you in the next one. Like and subscribe, please. Let us know if this is valuable information to you, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.